kitchen. I'm Christina. If you're returning to my kitchen, I welcome you back. If you're here for the first time, welcome, and please make sure to subscribe for regular videos on recipe ideas for any day of the week. Today I'm making chicken marsala, which is an Italian-American dish of pan-fried chicken cutlets with mushrooms in a rich Marsala wine sauce. Although it's a classic restaurant dish, it's really easy to make at home. I'll get started next and show you the steps. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chicken broth that I already have measured out, and I am going to bring this to a high boil and let it boil and reduce by 1 cup. And this will take about 20 minutes. Now that my broth is at a boil, I'm going to keep my heat at a high, cover my pan, and using my little trick here with my, this is just foil that I fold into quarters, and prop this open a little bit so the steam can escape so I don't have a spillover. And this will continue to reduce. Reducing the broth will help intensify the flavor and thicken the liquid as well. Next, I'm going to dice shallot. Okay, so next I have my mushrooms, which I rinsed a bit, and they're nice and clean. So next I'm going to trim them and slice them. I like to slice them fairly thick, as you can see here. As you can see, I'm basically cutting them into thirds. When removing anything off your board, use the back of your knife so that you keep your blade nice and sharp. Don't have the tendency to want to scrape it this way. Just turn it upside down, scrape back. As you can see here, there's still a little bit of dirt, which I can remove easily with my finger, or sometimes I use a paper towel. Alright, so next I'm going to take 3 sage leaves, 3 fresh leaves, and I am going to chop them finely. And the best way to achieve that is I take them and roll them and cut them into long little ribbons first, and then chop the rest of it. Rolling them and cutting them into little strips is something the French created, and they called that chiffonade. Alright, next I'm going to measure my Marsala cooking wine. I need a 1/2 cup and then 2 tablespoons. And you want these measured out separately. Alright, next I'm going to measure out my heavy cream. Alright, here we go. 2/3 cup. Okay, so next I want to juice half a lemon. Alright, so I want to measure out 1 teaspoon. I'm going to add it to my wine because they're going to go in the pan together. Alright, next I'm going to prepare my butter. I have a stick of butter, and I'm going to cut out 3 tablespoons together, and this is going to be for sauteing the shallots. And what I'm going to do is cut the rest of it so that I have 1 tablespoon slices ready to use. I'm going to keep these in the refrigerator until I'm ready to use them. Okay, next I'm going to measure out 1 cup of flour, and this will be for dredging our chicken in. I have these handy little trays that are terrific for this, and I'll place the chicken in here and I'll prepare the chicken next. Okay, moving on, I am going to take 4 chicken breasts and cut them horizontally. All right, next I'm getting ready to pound the chicken, and I'd like to use a recycled plastic baggie and cut it open so that it resembles a book. See, here's my book. And then I take my chicken and I can pound it easily without getting too dirty. Okay, so now I want to gently pound my chicken. I want it to be about 1/4 inch thick. About this thickness right here. I'm going to set these aside and continue pounding the rest of my chicken breast. Okay, so I started preparing my chicken, and let me show you what I did. Add a little salt and pepper, place it in the flour, add salt and pepper to the other side. I try to keep one hand clean so that I can grab my salt and pepper easily without contaminating my salt and pepper container with chicken. Alright, so once it's nicely coated, you just shake it off, put it aside. I'm going to do that to the rest of these. Alright, next I'm going to heat the pan, add a tablespoon of butter, and 1 tablespoon of oil. And once this melts and blends all together, I will saute each piece of chicken cutlet about 4 minutes per side. And then I'll move it aside and put it in a glass pan. And that way you're mixing the oil and the butter together. Once your butter is melted and your pan is sizzling nicely, we're going to add the chicken. I like to do 2 at a time. Don't want to crowd my pan. Next, I'm going to clean out the pan by dumping what's here so that my pan doesn't get too filled with burnt butter. Continuing on with my heat at medium, tablespoon of butter, tablespoon of oil. And this is going to go a lot faster since my pan is already nice and warm. Okay, next, using a separate pan, I am going to melt my 3 tablespoons of butter, and here I'm going to saute the shallots and then the mushrooms, and then I will add about a teaspoon of our chopped sage. You want your heat to be at a moderate level. You don't want it too hot. Alright, I'm just going to get started here. That butter will continue to melt. I'm going to saute these for about a minute and then I will add the mushrooms. Alright, here we go. Add the mushrooms. Alright, next I'm going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and continue to stir these until they're nice and brown. Alright, next I'm going to add the crushed sage. It's about a teaspoon. Now while these are sauteing, the mushrooms will release liquid, and you can kind of see it down there. You want it to absorb completely, and you want your mushrooms to be nice and brown, and then they'll be done. Alright, so that's looking great. The liquid has absorbed, the mushrooms are nice and brown, the shallots are cooked through. So this is done. Now that this is done, I'm going to put this aside. Okay, and lastly, it's time to make the sauce. So I wiped down the pan I sauteed all the chicken in, and next I'm going to add my half a cup of wine. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're deglazing our pan, and all that means is we're scraping the little brown bits from our pan. It will add additional flavor to our sauce. Picked up all those brown bits. That looks great. Okay, next goes in my chicken broth and the measured out cream. Give this a stir. Now that it's nicely blended, we'll let this cook for about 5 to 6 minutes. And next we're ready to add the mushrooms back to the sauce. Now I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. I hope you give this recipe a try. It's amazing. A little time consuming, but worth the effort. Alright, so my sauce is all done. It goes right over the chicken. Next, I will put this in the oven until I'm ready to serve it. I warmed up my oven to 170 just to keep it warm. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share with a friend, and subscribe for more great recipe ideas. Thanks so much. See you next time.